I am Alexander Malinin, creator of the Opera and Sis's channel. I'm here to talk to you about Avengers Infinity War.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Alexander Malinin. Hope you liked that introduction. I hope people get the reference. Never mind. So, this is part 2 of the spoiler discussion of Avengers Infinity War. The spoiler free review is coming, but for now we'll focus on major spoilers for the movie. So, if you haven't seen it already, then I suggest, if you don't want to be spoiled, then you will go away. So, people who are returning at a later date or just don't care about spoilers, like me, let's talk about it. So, where did I leave off? Oh, yes, Doctor Strange was kidnapped by Ebonimo. It's definitely Ebonimo, not. I think like that, yeah. And we see the scene in which Doctor Strange is being tortured by those very sharp things pointed towards the different parts of his face. And this is a scene we saw in the trailer, like little glimpses of it, but it's truly even more horrifying in the movie to watch. Just watching Doctor Strange suffer so much with and everything is so sharp and it's so like you always it's like you're oh my god. Of course Iron Man has come to the ship to because he basically there he wants to rescue Doctor Strange at that point. Then Spider-Man sneaks on board from the trip of the bus of the school, and I must say that's bus scene where he escaped from the bus by Ned creating a distraction. There was a Stan Lee cameo. And Stan Lee is the creator of many Marvel comics, and it's a tradition for Marvel films to basically insert Stan Lee into a scene in each of the MCU movies. And basically, here he's like, haven't you seen a starship before in your life? Which is really hilarious, indicating that Stan Lee did create much of the stuff, so he's probably used to scary, strange stuff like that. But basically, Spider-Man sneaks on board, and they're planning to save Strange and throw Ebonimo out of the ship by using a strategy from a film called Aliens or Alien, which I did not watch, so I did not get that reference. However, I'm not planning on seeing it since I saw little glimpses of it and it didn't really look nice to me. But maybe I'll see it in the future. But basically, they save Doctor Strange by throwing Ebonimo off the ship, and I have very mixed feelings about those because one side of me is relieved because I was so sort of always always felt in fear and menace, and also I sort of was hated Evan Mo for what he did in the movie so far and how he was presented. I hated him. He was so just. I don't know. But on the other side, I loved his character. And I was sort of okay with it, but I wished he stayed a little longer on screen. But basically, Tony decides not to return to Earth, but to see where basically the ship takes them. Of course, Spider-Man, Peter Parker's suit now has the spider legs, which I really did enjoy because they're a very nice addition and I think a very exotic and interesting one to the movie. Now I'm going to talk about something earlier in the movie, which is the flashback with Thanos and Gamora. Basically, Thanos found Gamora when she was like her race was invaded by his armies. He wanted to wipe out like half the planet to make the other half live peacefully and without like overpopulation or basically or any like pollution or something like that. But of course, his methods were too bad, and of course, they weren't right. So the thing is, it's just terrifying to see that flashback with Thanos' theme playing in the background. Just like how everyone is screaming, how everyone is being killed, just torn apart, their families, everything, and how Ebony Maw is like, go to freedom. You will be honor, like you will have the honor to be save your world, like from yeah, and it's just Ebony Maw in that scene again, and how Gamora was just to Thanos understood that she's not really afraid of him. And he took her, and how her family just and everyone she knew just were killed right behind her as Thanos just talked and played with her. Just it was so frightening. Well, I wasn't frightened, but I felt so bad for the people. It was a really well done scene, I must say. And after that, we cut to Thor and Rocket Raccoon, and also we Groot on their little side quest to get the weapon that could destroy Thanos. So they arrive on that place, I don't remember the name, and basically Thor gets a new eye, a mechanical eye, and then this scene was truly the one where I felt it shouldn't be here. It was so uninteresting, and I thought it was a full waste of time. Just sort of that's the thing I felt. Like, I didn't feel Canto Bight was a pointless side quest in The Last Jedi, but I did feel like this one was. It was just so boring just to sit there with the big dwarf and everything, and it was just pointless, I think. The only things it established is that is the backstory of the dwarf and the sort of the how Thor retrieved the weapon. And all that stuff with all that nonsense with activating the weapon and everything, it was so boring to me. I really did not enjoy it. I was like, I know many people might be screaming at me like, how did you, but that's my opinion. You see, I absolutely respect your opinion if it's different. And I want to take a moment just to tell you, you don't have to be the same as me, because I really feel uncomfortable when people are like think that I don't respect their opinion. I do. And I would gladly take whatever you say, because everyone has their own opinion. That's just how it works. So if you have the same opinion as me, that's great. If you don't have the same opinion as me, that's great. Everything's great, but let's continue on with the review. Thanos brings Gamora into his throne room, and a very interesting conversation in the movie occurs. We see Thanos discussing his politics and his methods with Gamora, his basic concept and idea of the world, that the world is overpopulated, overpolluted, and the only way to save the world is by destroying half its population for basically for everyone who is left alive to have sort of their good life. And Gamora is like, I always hated this everything, like this throne, this room, everything. And it's a very strange scene because Thanos, despite him being the scary villain, here he seems like just a normal human being, just talking with her calmly, sitting on the stairs, just discussing like a parent, like a normal parent, just like he is supposed to be, but of course he's a mad titan. And that's the very uncomfortable feel of this scene. It just feels like it should be comfortable, but it's not. And I think it's a great way to show Thanos' personality, that behind all this crazy stuff, he is actually sort of a person who believes that he is doing it good for the world, and he just wants to spend time with his daughter, and it's almost like he's playing and talking with his daughter when actually he took her with force, and it's just very strange. It turns out that Gamora knows the location of the Soul Stone, but she won't tell Thanos. She pretends like she doesn't know. So Thanos does a clever move by torturing her sister Nebula, who he previously captured. Now, this movie has lots of torture scenes, and I think this is the most effective one. Doctor Strange was a nice one, but it didn't really make a big I mean, it did, but not as much as Nebula. Hearing Nebula scream as she's ripped apart and everything, and Gamora's reaction, it was just so heartbreaking, so loud, so nerve-wracking, so painful, that I think this is a very well done scene. We know what Gamora is feeling, so she does reveal the location of the Soul Stone, and that's the end of the second part of my spoiler discussion. The third part will come out soon. Until then, see you!